And as always, let's start by closing our eyes, dropping in, and breathing at your own pace, consciously breathing. Letting go of whatever you might have been thinking about or doing prior to class. And bringing your full presence, first of all, just to your body. As you breathe, take an inventory of your body. Is there any discomfort or places in your body that you notice are calling out for some attention? How well resourced are you? Did you sleep well? Have you had enough breakfast? Are you stressed? Do you have something from your external world that's getting in the way of your ability to concentrate and to focus? And if the answer is yes to any of those questions, how perfectly human. We are complex creatures, and there's a lot going on inside of our emotions, our body. And today we're going to really drop into a deeper understanding of human relationship and how to manage the common challenges. So I invite you to think of one significant ongoing challenge that you face with an important relationship, one big one. And it can be with a family member, a lover, a spouse, a child, someone you work with. Or what's the most difficult ongoing relationship challenge in your life? And as you get clear on that, you open your eyes, coming back into the room, and I want to invite every one of us to write it in the chat box. Write in the chat box what the relationship is and what the challenge is. I love it. Anna Prabhu's relationship challenges to her computer. Yeah, different parenting styles. That's a hard one. Really a hard one. Oh, Patsy, that's hard, especially at the holidays. Mm. So just reading everybody's, and I invite everyone else also when you're done writing to read each other's, so we have a deeper sense of what's going on for each of us. Yeah. Managing those differences in romantic partnership, I'm noticing several of you, it's with your primary husband or romantic partner and being on the same page. And what happens when you're so invested in a relationship and they just have a style, or your style is so different, and then it becomes more and more annoying, and we polarize. All right, we get polarized. Yeah. I'm going to take just another minute to let people finish writing. Still waiting to hear from a few of you. And just as you read each person's, just really maybe even look at them for a minute and send them a silent blessing, a moment of empathy. These are all really, really hard situations because I know most of you, I know what most of those situations are. And so I just really acknowledge how challenging it can be. Mm. Okay. So I really want you to pay close attention because we're going to go to the absolute, what's at the foundation of almost all relationship challenges. And it almost always comes down to we're looking to someone in the external world to fulfill our most essential needs. Remember that part of the human experience is that we're living in the illusion of separation. And I want us to just really drop into that for a minute. We are living in the illusion of separation. Most of the time, we're experiencing ourselves as our body, and our body is separate from the world. That's how we imagine it, how we experience it. And so there's this profound fear of death, fear of pain, and fear of loneliness. And because almost all of us have experienced trauma, usually as a child, sometimes later in life as well, of being alone, the pain of being alone, we lock onto other people to feel comforted, to feel connected. How perfectly human. How perfectly human. When we become too attached to an external source for our comfort, we start grasping for that connection. Right? And think about it, when somebody's grasping, we pull back. So when we are energetically grasping for connection from another person, or another person's grasping to us for connection, we pull back. And the grasper, the person grasping, becomes unattractive, becomes actually repulsive. Not repulsive in a human, oh, you're disgusting way, but repulsive in an energetic way. When we grasp, we actually create the frequency of repulsion. Conversely, when we are self-sourced, when we are confident within ourselves, we become attractive, because that's what everyone on some level, usually unconscious, is longing for, is to be comfortable with themselves. I have somebody that I work with who's talking about how her boyfriend feels like a black hole, right? Have you ever been in one of those relationships, or maybe you're in one now, where no matter how much you give, it's never enough? That person always needs more, always needs more. And if they're not getting more, they're insecure, and then things happen. Likewise, sometimes we're like that. We just so need love and attention that we become the black hole, where we need more from our partner than they can give. I'm not going to call on anybody, but who can relate to the black hole grasping dynamic? Right? I think all of us. Now, it all comes back to the illusion of separation. And that's really, there's a spiritual and a scientific perspective about this. And it's really worth writing down. I see Patsy writing down. Hopefully she's writing down the illusion of separation. Because we have to solve that issue fundamentally. Of course, most of our great spiritual teachers and mystics have been telling us for thousands of years about oneness, that we are one with all life. But we're blessed to be living at this particular time in human history when our scientists have proven what the philosophers and the mystics have already been saying. Scientists, our highest form of science is quantum physics, and quantum physics has scientifically demonstrated that we actually live in a unified field of ever-changing molecules. Now, some of you have heard me say this before, but I really want you to take it in, even if you've heard it a couple times from me. There is no blank space. There is the illusion of blank space. There's actually no separation between us and everything you can see. There's the illusion of separation. This has been scientifically proven. There's a very cool thing. The oldest surviving spiritual texts, about 7,000 years old, they're the Vedic scriptures written in Sanskrit. And God, which is called Brahman, is given 26 principles. There's 26 principles of God in these ancient 7,000-year-old texts. The scientific understanding of the unified field, scientists have determined that there are 26 principles to the unified field. And the 26 principles of the unified field perfectly correlate with the 26 principles written 7,000 years ago. Our science and our spirituality come together to teach us we are not separate. We're in the illusion of separation. And I'm making a big deal about this because that's at the core of our wounding. And it's at the core of why we grasp, or people grasp to us, desperately seeking comfort. Okay. Do you all see the correlation to relationship? Why this is important? Yeah, most of you. Fundamentally, there are three primary things that we all need psychologically to feel safe. We need to feel connected to other people because we're mammals and we need homeostasis. We need physical touch. We need to feel connected to God or a higher source. It's like a spiritual connection. And we need to feel that our needs are going to be met. And because the human experience begins with us being absolutely incapable of taking care of ourselves, for the first few years, we're absolutely incapable of taking care of ourselves. Someone else needs to make sure we're fed, clothed, we're not self-sustaining. Like most animal species take care of themselves pretty quickly. We don't. It takes us years. So for years, we're developing, as we're kind of figuring out who we are, dependency on our mother or our father or whoever's taking care of us. And so that dependency carries over into our relationships. And now we're adults still looking for mommy, or still looking for who's going to take care of me, who's going to be there for me. Now, this is beautiful. This is part of the human experience. But being self-sourced is fundamental to avoiding unhealthy, enmeshed relationships. And we've all been in relationships like that. We've all been in relationships where we're so desperate to not lose that person and what they represent to us that we put up with addiction or compulsion or just constant fighting or arguing because the love is so good, or the sex is so great, or the sense of connection is so fulfilling, or we're so afraid of being alone that we stay in a relationship that we actually know is unhealthy. It's dragging the rest of us down, right? It's not supporting our lifestyle. It's not supporting us at the highest level. And again, how perfectly human. If you're in a relationship like that right now, I am absolutely not judging you. I've been in relationships like that many times in my life. So it's a hard one because we get attached to the quality of connection, or we're afraid of being alone. We're afraid of abandonment. We're afraid of the illusion of separation. Okay. So I've said a lot, and I want to open it up to any thoughts or reflections, how this inspires some of you. What does this bring up for some of you? And I'd really like us to have a little bit of a discussion, and then we're going to go into some solutions. But how's this connecting with you? I need some feedback.
It connects with me, Scott. And in the relationship I have, I realized, first of all, I have consciously transformed it into a friendship. And yet even keeping the friendship there, or having that person stay in my guest room at night, which is like my living room, it affects what I'm doing or what my focus is, because I realize if I just self-source myself and then reach out to create the quality of relationship that I want, that's in my DNA, that's the level of the masculine that has been modeled to me actually by my father and by my brothers and by men that I respect and spiritual teachers and colleagues. I realize that's what I need to thrive, to have that level of communication, that level of collaboration and co-creation. So I have to, it feels like I have to let go of that buoy that's been familiar and go out into the unknown waters to create what I want. So thank you for speaking about that fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so understandable. Let's twinkle Deborah for being the first one to chat. Yeah, I mean, we stay with what's familiar. You know, the famous example of keep a bird in a cage long enough, open the door to the cage, and the bird won't fly out because it's what's comfortable, it's what's familiar. The majority of the slaves, when they were freed, stayed on the plantations. Even though they were free, they stayed on the plantations that they had grown up on because it's what they knew. A very small percentage of slaves actually left. So we stay with what's familiar. You know, there's an example, you may have heard me use it. I use it a lot with people, and it's a really good example. People go, oh my God, it's the scratchy sweater. And the example is that imagine if you put on a sweater and it's actually really scratchy, it's uncomfortable, but you get used to it. And then you don't want to take off the sweater because even though it's scratchy and uncomfortable, you're used to it. You've been wearing it for so long. And sometimes our habits or our less than healthy relationships are like that scratchy sweater. It's scratchy and it's uncomfortable, but I'm familiar with it. It's what I know. And so we stay. Who else wants to share what's kind of come up for you as we're talking about this? Else, anybody? Allison.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to
Good
see
morning.
you all. So it's interesting because for me, I am struggling with just patterns that were set up for my husband when he was a child that cause him to respond when he's under stress in a way that he would not if he were calm. He had a very sort of drill sergeant kind of upbringing. There was like, you're not allowed to ask why. You just do it because I told you to do it. And being respectful was a huge thing, especially with his dad. And he'd get very angry if he thought that someone was not being respectful. And so when he's under stress and there's a lot of things going on and he's having trouble assimilating everything and being his best self, he goes back into that sort of drill sergeant, you must respect me way. And that's really hard for me because I very much believe in leading with love and empathizing first, figuring out what the deeper need is, all the stuff that we're learning in this class I'm trying to do as a parent. And so I've been asking him to take a break when I think that's happening, but I'm not sure if maybe I'm cutting him off from the chance to work through it by telling him to take a break. But it's hard for me to just let it be and get out of the way because I feel very protective of my children, even though, he's a very loving person and there would never be anything physical. It's just sometimes his response is an angry response. So in listening to you, Scott, and trying to learn this, I'm trying to figure out ways that I can help him to feel well-resourced so that when he's in that situation, because I think often he feels like I'm butting in, when he's the one who's doing the primary discipline, that I get involved because I'm uncomfortable with his way of doing things. And for him, that also triggers his feeling of not being respected.
Right.
Sorry for the overshare. Well, I guess it's not oversharing. This group, there's no such thing as oversharing, right?
That's right. That's
okay.
right. Who can relate to Allison's question? Just see how many people want to hear the answer of how to work with that. So just take that in, Allison. Almost nobody's raising their hand. Okay. It's a really good one. So just to summarize, how do we manage when somebody that is important to us, their energy, the way they're behaving is uncomfortable for us? And how do we manage letting them be, the kind of radical acceptance part of it, and setting boundaries with compassion? Is that a good way of putting it? By the way, Anaprabha, I can't mute you for some reason, so I need you to mute yourself, hon. And if people could always remember to keep themselves muted, I would appreciate that. It's funny, it lets me mute most people, but some, maybe it's because she's on the phone, I can't do it. All right. So as the Buddha said, always take the middle road, meaning we always need to find the balance. The first thing is, do not talk to your partner when they're triggered about being triggered. You got to have the conversation when they are well-resourced and they are centered so that you're in a good place. But if they're in the triggered state and you're telling them that you have trouble with them being in the triggered state, it's probably not going to go very well, right? It's because you're pouring gasoline onto the fire. If they're triggered, they either need to be left alone or they need empathy, right? And different people, it's different. So you got to assess that. Is my partner the type of person that when he's triggered, or for those of you, if it's a she, when your partner is triggered, do they want to be left alone or do they want to be understood? remember that underneath all anger, let's just talk about anger since that's the most uncomfortable thing that somebody can be doing is when they're angry. They're angry because they have unmet needs. They're not angry because they're an asshole. They're not angry because they're a bitch, right? Those are enemy images we assign. They're angry because they have unmet needs. And so if we can acknowledge their unmet need, that's usually a good step. It's usually water on the fire of their gasoline, on the gasoline fire. It's very common that the husband is angry and the mother feels protective of her children, which creates more separation between mom and dad. Because in that moment, dad experiences it as you choosing the kids over me. And there is a fundamental wound that most couples have around that. Because there's who the wife was before the kids came, and there's who she was after the kids came. Usually before the kids, the husband or the man was the primary focus of her love and attention. Once the children arrived, he became second to the children. And this is a very fundamental wound in a lot of marriages with his children. Does it make sense to people? Yeah. And so then if the man is angry, he's not angry because he's a jerk. He's angry because he has unmet needs. And he probably doesn't even consciously know it, but he's wanting love and appreciation and attention and acknowledgement from his wife. And instead, the wife is seeing him as an enemy, and she has to protect her kids from him. And this is a really painful place for both the mom and the dad to be in. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, it's a really hard one. It's a hard one. So remember that anger itself is not bad or wrong. It needs to be managed. So again, it's the difference between I'm sharing my anger with you so you understand what's going on for me. That's okay. As opposed to I'm throwing my anger at you in an act of displaced aggression. Displaced aggression is not okay. Sharing my anger with you because you're my wife, you're my husband, you're a very important friend to me, and I need understanding is absolutely okay. Does that make sense to everybody? And the difference between sharing anger with for the purpose of being understood versus throwing anger at in displaced aggression. And so it's important for us to, again, when the person's calm and centered, talk about it from that perspective. Let's do it this way. And then you have to determine, is it genuinely displaced aggression that is hurtful to me or the children? Or is it, I'm just uncomfortable with the emotion of anger? Because remember, we always have to manage our discomfort first before we can give quality empathy. We have to manage our discomfort. A man has to manage his discomfort with his wife or his children crying. A woman has to manage her discomfort with her husband being angry. These are common dynamics. But if we haven't managed our own discomfort, then we're not really giving empathy. We're trying to change the other person. And trying to change another person is never empathy. And it actually always pours gasoline onto the fire. I'm uncomfortable with you because you're crying, so stop crying. That's not empathy. I'm uncomfortable with you because you're angry and I don't like anger. And so I'm going to say, stop it. Well, that's not empathy. That's trying to change the other person to manage your own discomfort. First step of self-sourcing is acknowledging discomfort. Who can remember, you get big brownie points if you can do this. Who can remember how we do emergency self-empathy? Who remembers the steps of emergency self-empathy? come on. I know one of you has got to remember this. Mandy.
You close your eyes and you breathe and put your hand on your heart chakra and you just give yourself empathy.
Absolutely. Very, very good. Very good. Thank you. And again, the steps are, let's all twinkle, Mandy. We give ourselves empathy. What am I telling myself? What am I feeling? What am I needing? I would do that. That's the emergency dose of self-empathy. And then we ask ourselves the question, can my love or care for the other person supersede my discomfort? So using Allison, your husband's angry, you're uncomfortable with his anger, you got to give yourself that emergency dose of self-empathy, get calm and centered within yourself, and kind of check out, is his anger genuinely a threat to the children? Or is it just something you're uncomfortable with? That's a question to ask yourself. And then can your love or your care for your husband supersede your discomfort? Now, if indeed he truly is being aggressive towards your children in a way that's hurtful to them, that's genuinely hurtful to them, well, then you do need to set a boundary, right? And remember, we set boundaries with compassion. Honey, I see you're really, really hurting. I'm going to ask the children to go into another room. Do you want to be left alone? Or do you want me to come back and connect with you? All right. Does that make sense? But you got to manage your own discomfort first. Is he truly a threat to the kids? Or is it just my own discomfort with the energy of anger? And it's just one of those, it's like a question you got to really ask yourself and be honest about. And there's no bad or wrong. There's nothing bad or wrong here in the equation. It's just learning to be more as self-reflective as we can be in the face of such discomfort. Mimi.
Thank you so much, Allison. Woo! Hot and tender right there. I do have a question. Can you repeat back, Scott, the part that you were saying about respect? Or somebody in this group had talked about what other people view as respect or how to help people view respect. I'm married to a very British person who sarcastically, I feel they feel like they know all the rules of proper protocol and people should be showing respect. And I didn't grow up like that, and I don't see those things as disrespectful. And so how do you approach people gently with humor in a way to kind of help them see that, you know what, that may not be how everybody else sees the world. So, but you had some kind of terminology for respect, or somebody in this group had that. Thank you.
Yeah. So first of all, what Mimi is bringing up is a common one. We have a different cultural conditioning. So Mimi's cultural conditioning is different than her husband Stephen's. Okay. So again, we talk about this not in the heat of the moment, but when we're both calm and centered and acknowledging a different cultural conditioning of what respect looks like. And we keep peppering, I totally respect you. I respect you completely as a human being. I don't always respect some of the choices you make. You might not always respect some of the choices I make. Remember, we always have to differentiate between the being and the choices that being makes. We never have a problem with the human being. We have a problem with choices or behaviors that they make. So we always have to create that differentiation. The pain of disrespect comes when someone's taking it personally. You're not being the way I want you to be. You're not treating me the way I want to be treated. Therefore, my interpretation is you don't respect me. Okay? That's an interpretation. So again, lovingly asking, what are the things I do that you interpret as disrespectful? And really listen. And this is a chance to get an education. You know, you don't ask me, You don't say good morning when you first see me. There, you know, I worked with somebody else. It might have been you, but I worked with somebody else that, no, it wasn't you. I remember who it was now. That again, I had a British husband, and he was raised that when you see a person, the first thing you say is good morning. And if you don't say good morning, it's disrespectful. Okay. So remembering that one. So you just ask, what are the things that you interpret as disrespectful, and keep reminding them, oh, okay. And you don't deny the reality, you don't deny the discomfort, but you try and help them understand that it isn't an accurate interpretation, that you don't respect them. It's a cultural difference. And then you take a look at which of the cultural differences you can manage adjusting yourself without stepping outside of your integrity. Allison.
Sorry, trying to unmute quickly so I can quickly say something and then leave you to continue. I have a question. When you are having this talk, when you are both calm and centered, and you are not talking about your own interpretation, but you're talking about a minor, a child, who may not be able to articulate whether they're you know, whether they mean to be disrespectful or not, and you're just talking about the interpretation of one adult parent of a child's behavior. For me, it always feels kind of patronizing to interpret a child's behavior for another adult, you know, to say, well, clearly he was not, I mean, I wouldn't say that, but, you know, like trying to, even when I think I see very clearly what the unmet needs were and what was happening in the relationship, I feel very uncomfortable navigating that, because I don't want to seem like I've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Especially since, you know, I already have this reputation. I'm the one who takes the communication classes, and I'm the one who's really into this. And then I don't want to come off as patronizing or thinking that I'm better than, or I've got it all figured out, because that seems disrespectful.
Yeah.
So how do I navigate that minefield?
Well, I think you actually start to answer your own question is just by being sensitive to not coming across as mother knows best, right? And again, this goes back to when we have a difference, the prime directive is to understand each other. Okay, remember that's the prime directive is to understand each other. I think you're clear on that. But there are 3 pits. You've heard me say this again, but I want to, well, actually, who can remember what the 3 pits are? Rather than Scott saying it again. Who remembers what are the 3 pits that we can fall into as human beings that stop us from understanding each other? Hannah. Hannah, you're up. Just need you to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay. This might be cheating because I just created your meme with these 3 pits. So
Oh, that's okay.
they're fresh in my mind. Right, wrong, attack and defend, and power struggles.
Big, big, big twinkling for Hannah. And by the way, if you haven't seen the memes that she's created for me, I'm posting one every day. They're fantastic. Thank you so much, Hannah. I love those memes.
Oh, you're so
Thank
welcome.
you. Yeah, it's awesome.
Gosh, I've so enjoyed making them for you.
So yeah, right, wrong, attack and defend, and power struggle. So Allison, probably you're in the right, wrong dynamic where he, you know, I'm right, he's wrong, or whatever it is. And even if you're not in right, wrong, if one of you thinks the other is in right, wrong, then we polarize and we go into that place. So constant reassurance, look, neither of us know for sure what's going on with our child. We both maybe have strong opinions where we think we know what's going on, and that's okay. But just acknowledging, nobody knows for sure. It's not an exact science, right? And just reminding of that. So I really want to hear, what do you think is going on with Junior? Ask first. Always ask first, right? We're so eager to tell the other person what we know, right? But pull it back and ask, what do you think? How do you see it? And then here's a really important one. So they present it, and let's say they present something that you completely disagree with. This is where emotional intelligence comes in. You completely disagree with their assessment, and you want to come right in and say how that's wrong, or you're offer the opposite. Reflect back your understanding. Wow, so you really believe that our child is possessed by the devil and is a demon child, and that we need to bring in a Catholic priest to exorcise him. Wow, that's really important for me to know. Okay. Okay. No matter how outrageous, we acknowledge their reality, right? Doesn't mean we're agreeing with it. We acknowledge the reality, which is the best chance for them to feel heard and understood, and then the best chance that they're going to listen to our reality. Okay, is that helpful? Okay.
So helpful. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. So, any other thoughts or questions that come up along the lines of what we're talking about here? Are you all able to kind of apply it to your different relationship challenges? Again, remember when those differences come up. Yeah, Anuprabha.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry about the combination of communication devices here. You know this, Radiance mentioned it well in her thing of how to offer support when a person is really charged. And I'd like to add, like on top of that is like, so the person is really charged. And for example, I have a sister, younger sister, since my mother passed, and I was with my mom when she passed, who will not, who's also alcoholic, but will not communicate with me. Angry about, she's basically, when you grow up in an alcoholic family, there's often one person that everybody throws their anger on.
Mm-hmm.
So when my father passed, it was me, but then but still, since my mother wasn't in the picture and I was a caretaker, so there was still communication. But once my mother passed and I was there, then all the anger sort of gets on me. I'm the black, I went away. I went to India, God forbid, but anyway, regardless of that, she's in pain, obviously, has a lot of pain, but I don't know how to reach out. I've reached out to her, but she refuses to communicate. Yeah.
So when we're dealing with somebody who refuses to communicate, it's because they don't feel safe.
Mm.
And people almost always don't feel safe with a compassionate communicator because they don't feel that they're capable of communicating or connecting at your level.
Mm.
And usually if it's a parent, most of our parents aren't as willing to self-reflect as we are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so they're afraid that you're going to bring up the past. How many of you experienced with your parents, can't we just be happy? Why do we have to talk about the past all the time, right? Who's had that one? It's really common, right? So remember not to do that when you're an older parent. Because children do want to process the past, right? We do want to understand. And usually in that understanding, there is a certain level of make wrong of the parent, or at least the parent experiences it as a make wrong. Okay. So we have to create safety in order for someone who's struggling or avoiding communication. And now this goes beyond family. Anytime you've had a friend that's like refuses to talk, it's because they don't feel safe. Almost always. So send a simple text message. I love you, or I care about you. What would you need to feel safe for us to have some quality communication? I miss you. I want to talk with you. What are some boundaries? What do you need for us just to really have a pleasant conversation? Because if they're afraid it's going to go into processing, or they're afraid it's going to go into another round of judgment, remember, our brain stores painful memories 5 to 30 times greater than pleasurable ones. So if someone has a memory of being judged by you or criticized by you, even if in your world you weren't being judgmental or critical, but they remember it that way, they're going to avoid connection because they don't want to go back to hell, right? And that conversation that they're remembering was so painful or so uncomfortable, and they're afraid of it, and they don't want to go back to it. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. And we've all been on both sides of that. I mean, there's right now somebody that I'm in a conflict with, and I notice that I kind of avoid responding and dealing with it, right? And I'm teaching this class. So we all procrastinate and avoid the possibility of painful confrontations, right? I want to respond earlier. I noticed in the chat box, Hannah brought up a really good thing, because I'm obviously promoting self-sourcing. And Hannah brought up, again, the balance of some people relying too much on God or self-sourcing and not enough on connection with others. And yeah, there's a balance. If we're using self-sourcing to avoid confrontation or to avoid connection, kind of fits into what I was just talking about. It's like, okay, it's more pleasant for me to go into meditation and prayer than to look into the mirror that you are. Remember, we're all sacred mirrors, and especially for our most intimate or important relationships. So I know that I definitely prefer to just go into my own little world, and I could call that self-sourcing, than to deal with certain conflicts that are especially hard for me to deal with. Okay, I can find that within myself. And so, again, it comes down to safety, So we do want to find that balance of genuine self-sourcing, as opposed to, am I just abandoning a relationship because it's too painful to deal with? And if that's the case on either side, what we need is safety. We need to have some pleasurable encounters, some appreciation, some acknowledgement, some love, to feel safe to come back into the confrontation. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I'm not going to call anybody, but how many of you can relate to kind of sometimes using self-sourcing as a means of escape? Yeah. And how many of you notice that you have a partner, someone close to, who uses self-sourcing as a means of escape? Yeah. So again, finding that balance, right? In genuine self-sourcing, when we're really truly self-sourced, then our cup is full or more full, and so we're more capable genuinely of connecting with the other, dealing with the hard stuff. But if we're noticing that we're not filling ourselves up enough to be able to reach out and connect with the person that we're in conflict with or having a big difference with, then we're probably not really self-sourcing as much as we're escaping. And escape is okay. It's not bad. It just has a consequence. Right? So just, is this really self-sourcing, or is this escapism? Am I really connecting to a higher source, or am I really filling myself up, which should show up with me having more love and more capacity to give to others or to the person I'm in conflict with? Or am I in escapism? Does that make sense to everybody, kind of checking out that difference between self-sourcing and escapism? And remember, there's different ways of self-sourcing: prayer, meditation, time in nature, dance, yoga, playing a musical instrument, doing a martial art form. These are all different ways to self-source. For me, playing with my puppy is very, very nourishing to me. If I've had a hard session, or if I'm in kind of a tough, lonely place, playing with my puppy, serves what maybe dance would for Allison, or what, craftsmanship might be for Daniel, or, just guessing the different ways you guys self-source. Adrian and his Vipassana. So we're about to take our break, and then we're going to come back to some practices. Any other thoughts, questions, or reflections anybody wants to share? Mimi.
I just wanted to say that on New Year's Eve, I used the tools. Like, I was really ignited around a 3-year rage cycle that I'd had about an area where I didn't know how to show up with boundaries, and I was really in like a victim mode. So I used all of the tools. I was so proud of myself because I was like, clearly I am enraged and my needs are not being met. Like some major boundaries that I need to figure out here. So I just did some like an hour's worth of really deep breath work of where am I feeling it in my body? What are the emotions? And then I was able to finally get to the place of the critical needs and universal needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I set boundaries and it was amazing and it worked. And so I just wanted to celebrate that, like a 3-year cycle was really had some really beautiful closure on that from those steps.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's all twinkle, Mimi. That's fantastic. Congratulations. So when we come back, we're going to do some coaching. And I'm hoping to do very little talking, but I want to open it up to some of you to do some coaching on relationship issues. Just a reminder, we start with empathy first. So I'd like to ask for each of you to private message me. Are you interested in coaching? Are you interested in being coached? Or do you just want to be an observer? And please, everybody send me a private message that I can take a look at during our break. And then I can figure out who's going to do the coaching, who's going to do the, and if you want to receive coaching, just let me know a sentence or two what the relationship issue is, so I can hopefully set you up with the right person. Okay? So I want to hear from every single one of you. I want to be coached, and this is what's up for me. I'd love to do some coaching, or both, definitely offer both, or I just want to watch. Okay? And let's take a 10-minute break so I have time to kind of look at it and figure out what we're going to do next. So let's come back at 11:10 Pacific time. Okay? And I want to hear from every one of you. Okay, see you in 10 minutes. Buddy, I'm going to resume recording. There was one other thing that I just wanted to review with everybody. Although we've seen it before and worked with it before, I just want to review it because it's so critical to what often happens when we are in a funky relationship, when we're in a relationship that's gotten triggered. And again, it's the codependent triangle. And so inevitably, if a relationship is getting toxic or enmeshed, one person, at least one of the people, perceives that they're a victim. And again, when we're in victim is when we're in reaction to the world. We don't have faith, we aren't self-sourced. We are in reaction to the world and we feel victimized by our circumstances. And we've all been in victim. And sometimes victim is more subtle, right? Because we don't want to think we're in victim. But at any time we are in reaction to our external world or to another person, we're looking to another person to be a certain way for us to be happy. We're looking to another person to do a certain thing in order for us to feel safe or loved or cared for. We are in victim when we're in that place. We're in victim when we are seeking someone else for our own safety, security, care, or love. The one that most of us have to be careful with is rescuer. And certainly as you're doing coaching, remember, you're not here to rescue anybody. You're not here to rescue the person you're coaching. You're not here to save the day or to offer that brilliant wisdom that's going to change their life. If that happens, great. But we lead with empathy. We lead with empathy, and we have to manage ourselves first. That's why, it's not, I'm here to fix you. I'm here to know myself, manage myself so that I'm available to be fully present. And perpetrator, persecutor, of course, none of us most of us rarely think that we are in that role, but just know that the other person, if they're in victim, The victim is either seeing us as a rescuer or they're seeing us as a perpetrator. Right? They're not seeing us clearly if they're a victim. They're looking to us to rescue them and to provide them with what they need. And if we don't do that, then we're now the perpetrator. We're the cause of the problems. We're the cause of the challenge. So just briefly, I wanted to remind you of the positive kind of shift, what we want to shift out of, because this is, again, very applicable. So we want to go from victim, whoops, wrong one. Let me get rid of this. We want to go from victim to victor. So let me get rid of this. Okay. Now we can do it. So we want to go from being in the victim place to being, we call it victor, empowered. Bottom line is empowered, self-sourced. We want to go from being the rescuer, I need to fix you, to I love and honor myself fully. And that way I'm coming from a full gourd, holding up Daniel's little full gourd here. Coming from that full gourd place, and then the love, the water is overflowing. And from perpetrator to a peaceful warrior, being compassion in action. Compassion in action. Okay. So just wanted to remind you guys of this. I've made a note prior to the start of the class. I wanted to cover it again and just wanted to cover it. Any thoughts, questions, or reflections that come up from anybody as you see those charts? And for some of you, I know you've seen them before.
Well, I just really hear you, you know, that if the other person is being victim, like they want something to be different to suit their needs, that they're going to project onto us perpetrator or caretaker. That's a really important distinction or awareness to have. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for pointing that out. It's really true. It's like, if we don't do what they want, then they turn us into the reason they're unhappy, right? And that's a horrible place to be in. Horrible. Any other thoughts, questions, or reflections? Okay. So Anaprabha and Daniel, I want to encourage everybody to switch to speaker view. And Anaprabha and Daniel, Daniel's going to receive coaching. Anaprabha is going to provide. Yes, Adrian. Adrian raising his hand. Yes.
I'm just feeling a little concerned with my internet, and I have satellite internet in this house, and I was in a location where I was close to the router. I don't get very good reception everywhere, and I don't have the privacy that I did earlier in the session, so I'm feeling a little concerned about being a coach. I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
One, I'm not sure about the connection, and two, I'm a little bit concerned about some people in the house. So that's
All right, well, thank you
a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know. So I think I might have somebody else coach Patsy then. But thank you for letting me know that, Adrian. Thanks. And I'm glad you're with us. All right. So just a couple of reminders. You know, Daniel, you can really share what's going on with you. And Anaprabha, I'm having you lead because you're our senior, you and Adrian are the two senior coaches here. And I don't think you need much advice. You know what to do. So.
I'm always open to your advice, Scott.
Okay.
Very
The
available.
other thing, just remember empathy first. So, you know, empathy first.
Okay. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, Anaprabha.
Hi,
Hi, everybody.
Is it okay for you to how I'm sitting or how you're
Yeah.
seeing me? Is it okay? Do you feel comfortable
I do.
and safe and okay? All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying yes to having me as a coach and your courage to going first in this.
Yeah.
And I just like to ask, and you know, would you also like to work with somatic work that we had done before?
Sure. Yeah. If it feels appropriate at
Okay.
the time.
Okay. So maybe if you just want to start, just really just like tuning in. You know, everyone would just close your eyes for a minute and just like go inside and take a breath. Just feeling your feet on the ground, feet in your seat. Shake your body a little bit. And just feel really slowing down, tuning in to the maybe your heart. How's your heart feeling? And feeling that this is a really safe, sacred container that we're creating here to hold you in. And so if you want to just open your eyes and maybe share with what's happening for you.
Yes. My heart's beating fast, thumping in my chest.
Want to just tune into that a little bit? Your heart thumping
Sure.
fast. Maybe what's that feeling when it's thumping fast?
It's feeling afraid. That maybe I'm going to a scary place again where scary things happen to me.
Want to talk more about that place?
Well, I think I'm gonna be modeling the victim.
And please remember, there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment, no criticism.
Yeah.
And just really, we all have these scary places, and they're all, so there's the courage to go into that and to put light on it. So you're doing it for everybody. We all have scary places, dark places, scary. So.
Yeah, it's a place where if I express what's going on for me, then all hell breaks loose in my external world, and it's because of me, because of my existence, because of my feelings, because of my needs, because of my whatever's going on for me. I'm just like upsetting the perfect harmony of the world by being here. Yeah.
Oh, well, I can imagine how contracting that can feel, and how you're wanting maybe to make yourself feel small in that way, because it's it's like so and painful, because especially seeing your art and how huge and beautiful your art is in this internal world of this small child, perhaps connecting. Was it in childhood where you kind of experienced that?
Yeah.
Where whenever you would say something, it was fearful to say something?
Yeah, definitely. I would be surprised and shocked by the response. Yeah. And then it just, became a pattern that I see repeating all the way till yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
You want to share what happened yesterday?
Well, it was just, I've been just really, really doing a lot of more inner work with myself, with this class and reading I've been doing, and just, and so because of the holidays, my office and my studio has taken a back seat. And so finally yesterday I had some time to come out and just like start getting things in order, and, getting recentered in my, purpose and my world. I've been like in, holiday, everybody else's world. Right. And I came back into the house and I'm like, wow, God, it feels so good to like getting to like making sense of everything and putting things away and getting myself together. And the response I got was, well, why was it so disorderly? I would, I just like,
Why was your studio so disorder? Is that what? Or
yeah,
just in
like
general?
why was your office messy, and why would you have to do that? How come it's not, yeah.
So I can just imagine how shocking that can be, and how there
Yeah,
can
it
be
was
this.
like, it was a little thing, but it was like, because it was like almost like the exact opposite response of, I guess what I was expecting or hoping for.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine how petrifying that could be, how confusing, right? How confusing and also mistrustful. And
Yeah, and then I just like, okay, I'm not going to react to that. I'm not going to respond to that. And I just like, and it probably would have been best if I like left the space at the moment, but it became obvious, and she's like, so, what's going on with you? Something shifted, you know?
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay. So then I felt that same thumping feeling in my chest.
Yeah.
And I just like simply said, I don't know, I'm feeling, sad because I'm needing appreciation or connection or understanding or celebration around, like how happy I'm feeling to be recentered.
Mhm.
And then, I'm in my memory,
Oh, Daniel, is that what you said to your partner? Did you
in
say
my,
that?
in my memory, that's like how I said it.
So that was beautiful. That took a lot of courage. So you were
Yeah.
using your tools. You were saying how you were feeling and what you were
Yeah.
doing.
Thank you.
Yes. So
Um,
so actually you're going out of your, this fearful, as a child growing up and feeling like every time you would express your need, it wasn't safe. So you were
yeah.
really, so that where there would be mistrust to even, and frightened, and panicked, and just to even say anything was really scary. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can
Mm-hmm.
understand that because I grew up like that too.
Yeah, you get it.
Probably why
Yeah.
Scott puts us together. Aha.
Brilliant.
The brilliance of our leader here. Yeah, so I really, you probably heard me talk before, but I just have a visceral, I
Ah,
really feel you very deeply and have that little frightened girl inside of me
yeah.
that, especially in these moments when you're with your partner, your beloved, and you want to be seen and heard and accepted. And
Mm-hmm.
the fear of if you say something, and wanting harmony, really
Mm-hmm.
wanting harmony, right?
Yeah.
And have a co-creative partnership
And lightness. I wanted to share
and
joy.
lightness and joy, and and this, right, you want this lightness and joy and harmony, and then wanting to be seen and wanting to share your innermost, and taking that step of trust. Okay, I'm going to try this. I've got these tools, and I really want to appreciate that courage that it took to take that step to
Thank you.
share really what you're feeling, the sadness,
Thank
you
you.
know and it probably could have gone on more. It's like shocking, and
Mm-hmm.
some suspicion, some mistrust, but you just stopped with sadness, like, okay, I'm feeling sad and I really want to feel, appreciated. So I
Yeah.
just to really, no, just everyone, just to really, everybody in the group, just to really, like, wow, hold you in that, you're
Mm.
really, really courage to step out of
Thank
that
you.
and really share that. That's took a lot of courage to share that with your partner,
Thanks.
really to witness you in that courage.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like a small thing, but, I wanted to speak my truth.
It's not a small thing. It's a huge thing.
Thanks.
It's huge. And you're coming out of this sort of, sorry, I've got to plug my phone. When you're coming out of the type of childhood that we did,
Mm-hmm.
and carrying a certain frequency. So by you breaking out of that, you're changing a frequency that you're normally been living, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, the next thing that happened made me question whether or not my my language was as conscious as I remember it,
Mm-hmm.
because then the response was, now she was triggered,
Yeah.
and then I was confused.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh,
How did that
wow.
feel? How did that feel in your body? Where was that in your body? Like, what was happening there?
It was just like, a twisting in my diaphragm, like my power center, like,
Your power center. So did that.
yeah.
So what was going on there with your sacral, with your power, with your? You want to just go into that. What did
Yeah,
it look like? What did that feel like?
I felt like, well, I had a moment of appreciating myself for the courage it took, like what I just received from all of you, which quickly dissipated to, okay, I did it wrong.
Now just slow down into that. Now just like,
Yeah.
let's like breathe into that sacral, that power center, feeling you've done it wrong. Just feeling, but also a minute ago, there was that courage. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both came from my diaphragm area.
Both came from the diaphragm. Okay.
First was the courage, and then like that, like, recoil.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Would there any words that would want to come out from that space? I'm feeling what's coming through for me. What would you, well, what would you say? What was coming for you?
Now I'm curious to hear what's coming through.
Well, I just came so loud for me is that I just, this was see me is what came. See me.
That's like the flavor.
Here I
for
am.
sure.
See me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here. See me. And just really, I mean, I actually like you just to step into that, and I want to have everybody just support you in that hara, in the sacral, in the power center, just like big, see me, like just being like, just breathing it in, just like shaking it in, even just like shaking that fear, just shaking your hands, shaking your body, shaking. Everybody just like shake it off for him. Let's just support Daniel in this huge thing that he is just like seeing me. He's stepping into his power.
Yeah.
In a loving way. I'm sad here. I wanted harmony. I wanted appreciation. See me. Love me. Accept me. I love you. We're in this together, but see me.
Yes.
Well, that's really beautiful. That's so beautiful, Daniel. Oh, let's take a breath into that. See me, Daniel. Just like you deserve. You are loved. You deserve to be seen. You're amazing. Being an artist, you're sharing your innermost feelings. You have the courage to break a mold, to break a pattern. Just step into you. You have a right to be here. You are worthy. You are enough. Yeah.
Could I just come in? It's beautiful, but I want to give a couple of other people that chance, but it's beautiful. So thank you, Anaprabha.
Thank you.
And beautiful work. And Daniel, I just want to ask you, when did you feel most connected? When did you feel most connected?
Thank you. I felt most connected when, Anaprabha, you were saying, when I fully got that you understood because you had very similar experiences as a child. When you described that to me, I the way you said it, I fully believed you, and I felt really the most connected then. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. couple things that I really liked. First of all, although Anaprabha referenced her childhood, she didn't go into a long story about it. She didn't take it away from Daniel and make it about herself. And that's always the tricky part, because we can start going so into detail about our story and then we actually lose connection. But she referenced it enough to where Daniel got that she got it, like he felt like she can understand, but she didn't go on too long about it. And that's always the tricky part with referencing our story. So good job there, Anaprabha.
And also when you, just the very end, when you said, see me,
Yeah.
that was super empowering. That's like when it just gets down to the simplicity of the issue. It's like, yes, see me, just see me. You nailed it.
Thank you, honey. Well, I that came through so strong in your being. So, and your receptivity, your courage, and your just receptivity to me allows that we co-created that energy together. So, support each other. So, thank you for your receptivity and courage.
Thank you.
Let's twinkle Anaprabha and Daniel. Big twinkling. Beautiful. Okay. I would like Hannah to work with Mimi next. And then Patsy, I hadn't heard back from you. So I'm wondering if after Hannah and Mimi, you'd be willing to receive some coaching from Mandy. And everybody kind of keep an eye on your chat box, because I've been chatting with some of you that way to stay connected. So that's how I kind of checking in about different pairings and possibilities. But I know Hannah is losing power on her device. So I'm going to have her go next with Mimi. A couple of...
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I've been disconnected twice already. I'm not sure.
Yeah, your internet's kind of in and out, Adrian. That's why I'm not, but I definitely want to have you do some coaching, maybe on Wednesday. If you've got better internet, we're going to do some more coaching on Wednesday. Hannah, are you...
I'll be back in Portland on Wednesday.
Oh, good. Hannah, are you good in terms of because I'm noticing you're moving around a lot. Are you in a stable place or going to be in a stable place soon?
I actually made the decision to go ahead and sit in my car where there's a charger so that I don't have to be concerned about that.
Okay. Okay, good. So you're going to be okay. So you're okay then. So I guess, Patsy, you know what? While you get settled in, let's go with Mandy and Patsy next then, while you kind of get set up in your car.
Okay.
And thank you, Patsy, for being willing to be with us. I've seen you going through a box of Kleenex, so I can tell it's a pretty tender moment for you. And so, Mandy, take it away. Oh, one other thing I want to acknowledge from the previous one. Two things that Anaprabha did that I really liked. I really liked how she started. She took a lot of time really connecting with Daniel. And when Daniel brought up his fear of, oh my God, I'm going to sound like a victim, I thought Anaprabha did a wonderful job of providing reassurance, making it really, really safe. Like, yeah, we just saw the victim thing that Scott showed, but you did a really job of creating safety. I'm seeing Daniel giving a thumbs up there. So good work there, Anaprabha. Okay, we're turning it over to Mandy and Patricia.
Hi, Patricia. Do you prefer Patsy?
Yeah, Patsy. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Mandy.
Hi.
If you don't mind, can you let me know a little bit about what's going on? A quick briefing?
Yeah, I'm going to make it short to maximize our time. I was in a 12-year relationship, and all the while being very aware that our communication styles were very different, and I wasn't getting my needs met. And I began trying to communicate this with him. And slowly through time, it degraded until I was your classic grasper. it brought up so much old childhood stuff for me. So if I want to say, okay, what was the blessing in all that pain? It was that I got way down deep to my fear of abandonment. And in October, I kind of created a little tantric stint or stunt, if you will, and told him over the phone things have changed. I had sex with an old boyfriend. I don't know if that changes the nature of our relationship. And it was a twist because we hadn't had sex in so long. So here I'd been asking for physical affection, not getting any, and pulled a typical Patsy stunt, which is like kind of grabbing my tennis shoes and all my baggage and leaving emotionally. So he left and my tantric partner left. And so the blessing is that I'm been left here 3 months and facing it. All of it.
You broke up 3 months ago?
Yeah, we broke up 3 months ago and he said, let's talk January 2nd. So we went to the movies January 2nd. I kind of thought it would resolve. And I asked him last night, so where are you with this? And he said, I don't think we're going to get back together. So I think there's a blessing in that. All universe forces are saying, Patsy, you cannot go back. As much as that little girl wanted to go sit back where I left her, I'd say all the way back. When you guys are talking about your childhood, that's where this pain is from.
Okay. Were you married?
No.
Okay.
Never been married. Never thought I'd get married. I'm very independent, had a career, retired, lived by myself in my own house with my own 3 dogs. And he has his own house and he just came and spent time with me. But we haven't been intimate in half of the time we were together, and it was 12 and a half years in total.
Wow.
But I was so afraid to be alone. Let me just say that out loud. I'm going to own every part of that.
Okay. Thank you. I want to thank you for sharing with us and me what's going on with you and having the courage to do that. And if I could invite you to just put your hand on your heart for a minute and close your eyes and breathe and give yourself some empathy for trying to get your own needs met in a way that you felt your partner wasn't meeting your affectionate need for you. And that's okay, because you did try to talk to him about it in your way. So just some self-empathy and some self-love real quick. Just breathe into that. Self-nurturing. I can see how much pain this has brought up for you. It's hard separating from a person you've been with for so long and you got used to being around. And like, now is a time for you to self-source because you're in a whole new chapter of your life. And it's okay for you to start looking at what's going to make Patsy happy, what's going to fulfill Patsy's needs, who can fulfill Patsy's needs and communicate comfortably in a way that makes you feel safe. And I really felt your pain in your heart chakra from this change and how it's activating your fear of abandonment. But to be honest with you, I see so much strength in your decision for finally coming to that realization that I need and deserve physical touch and affection, and this partnership is no longer serving me in a healthy way. And for you to have that ownership is very empowering. And I just wanted to point that out to you. What may I ask, like, what are you feeling in your body?
I kind of feel like it's a belly of fear, and to have you meeting me in this kind of belly of fear puts like a little dent in that fear. Like you're in it with me, and it's kind of got the consistency of Jell-O.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like that by you talking to me when I'm in this state, because I still am right now, I feel accompanied for a minute.
I'd like to offer you my energy of just that you're held, and by this community who's listening to you. If maybe we could all twinkle her and just give her some support, that we've heard her, we understand your needs, we see you, and you deserve love and affection. And you're not alone.
Thank you.
You're not alone. Are you feeling just a little more empowered just hearing it?
Yeah, just kind of just saying it and putting it out into the atmosphere and out of my kind of my heart chakra. It doesn't feel quite so immense, I suppose. It feels a little more manageable.
Where do you feel the fear is mostly coming from? Is it the change or the feeling of being alone or something else?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny that as you list them, I think, is it that? Is it this? Well, so it's not. The first one, there was no there in the relationship. He didn't live here. We've been fighting for a year. So the thing that answers your question is my own void way deep down, my abandonment wound. It's not so much that I need him here, because through these 3 months, I have been able to fill up my life, back doing my art, back doing my piano, reading more. I've got the dogs I always have to walk. My home is good. It's just that old place where as a little girl, I went when I had to shut down. So now I'm living with that little room still, kind of. You know, it's like I should open the windows in there and let some cross circulation get going in there.
Do you know what created that original wound by chance?
A childhood where there was drug abuse and alcoholism and no one said anything. So there was a white elephant living downstairs, which is where my brother did his thing. So it's this sensation of in a big house with the basement occupied by a dark force. So imagine how cold it might be, how dark it might be. There might be a stank, like the soil from the basement smell a little bit. There was a swing downstairs, actually. So those are all true memories. Those are just old, dark, uninhabited, no one's ever honored that with me, right? So no one else in my family knows about all, my experience is my own, and it still lives that way for me.
How did this dark, scary basement create an abandonment wound?
I think I always felt that I would be relegated to it, just by the nature of the force of the universe. There was something that was getting my brother to do something self-destructive, and I felt that there was some odd force in the dank, cold darkness of something.
And you couldn't talk to anybody about it? That's kind of where it's coming
No,
from?
no, not until I was about 12, and which is a little bit of a longer story. I ended up Macaulay's Neuropsychiatric Institute at my own volition to say, hey, I can't be here anymore. So I don't, any details are totally open, and I have gone through a lot of therapy, but that is where Kevin's void has left me, negotiating my own basement.
Kevin's your
Kevin-
partner?
He was.
What was your partner? Okay. Let me just sit with that for a moment.
While you do that, and you're doing a wonderful job, Mandy, I feel like there's a lot more, and I'm wondering how the two of you would feel about me putting you into a breakout room where Mandy can continue to work with Patsy. And because I'd like to do one more, give Hannah and Mimi a chance. So would that be okay with you, Patsy and Mandy, if I put you guys into a breakout room where you can continue?
Sure.
It's fine.
Yeah, is that okay, Patsy?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. And you're doing beautifully, Mandy. As you're working with her, there was a question that I noticed that came up for me. Back, Patsy, when you were telling your story, and you talked about how now you've been alone for 3 months and you're facing it. And I remember you kind of going, you're facing it, and you pushed it away. And Mandy, I'd encourage you, if that's alive for both of you, to explore what it is and what Patsy might need to feel safer facing it. Does that resonate for you, Patsy?
Yeah.
So I'm creating a room right now. Okay. All right. And so both of you will notice a little thing saying join room, and click join room, and that'll put you into the room.
Okay.
And thank you, Mandy. You're doing a beautiful job. Thank you, Patsy, so much. Thank you both.
Thank you,
so
everyone.
very much. Yeah, beautiful work.
Bye.
So I do want to give Hannah and Mimi a chance. We're probably going to go a little over 12 o'clock. So if anybody needs to leave, that's totally understandable. Patsy and Mandy, you both still need to, did you get your, oh, I see, I didn't click the right thing.
Oh.
Okay, it should show up now.
All right.
My bad. All right, there you go. So, all right. Hannah and Mimi, you're up.
Hi, Mimi.
Hi, Hannah. I'm so grateful to be here with you.
Great. I was going to check in just to make sure that you're feeling comfortable with me holding space with you.
I'm definitely comfortable with the two of us holding space together. I'm grateful to be here with you.
I'd like to start with just dropping in with you and breathing with you with the intention of us going into some really connected space where you're heard and where hopefully you're feeling whatever result you're hoping to feel by the end of this talk.
Thank you. Let me just make certain that, am I holding space for you, or are you holding space for me?
Hannah is holding space. Hannah's holding space for you. You're the receiver. You're the receiver, dear.
Great. Let's go.
Okay.
And there's actually kind of a big audio difference. Mimi is very loud and Hannah is very soft. So maybe it's just kind of funny how it worked out that way. So Mimi, if you have, do you know how to go into your audio settings and just kind of turn down your microphone a little bit?
I think I just did. I'm hoping that I did that.
Yeah, that seems to be better.
Okay.
How am I sounding? How's my volume level? Is it
I mean, we can
enough?
hear you. It's a little softer.
Let's see.
Audio settings for everybody. This is a good thing for everybody to know. If you're on a device, in the lower left-hand corner where you see the little mute microphone button, there's a little arrow next to it. And if you click that arrow, you'll see where it says audio settings. And if you click audio settings, that's where you can adjust your microphone and your speakers. Okay.
Okay. My output is at full volume right now.
For your microphone?
Uh-huh.
So that output is actually speaker, microphone.
Speaker.
You
Yeah.
you want to go to microphone where it says input volume.
No wonder. Okay.
So adjust your input, and that impacts how we hear you.
It's not giving me that option. That's interesting. I'm not sure. It's not allowing me to adjust that scale. It's
Take a
little
look.
sliding scale.
There is a little box that says, for some people, there's a little box that says automatically adjust microphone settings, and make sure that that little box is not clicked. If that box is
Okay.
clicked, you can't do it.
Okay, how's that?
Much better.
Okay. Is it too much?
Never too much.
No. Okay. Okay.
No, it's good. All right. So and that's part of coaching. We got to get the technology just right. So, all right, I'm going to mute and turn it over to the two of you.
I'm ready to breathe with you.
Okay.
Okay.
So, dropping into breaths with the intention of feeling connected to ourselves and connected to each other and connected to this process. And when you're feeling ready, just open your eyes and come back into the eye space.
Thank you. I really appreciated that pyramid today and looking at that and how often I feel like I've really aced one section of that pyramid, and then my next wall, I hit the next wall and I'm like, all right, yeah, victim perpetrator, here I go again. So two pieces really came up for me. One piece is that for this year, I'm really trying to not focus as much on story and just focus on what's going on in my body when I'm hitting these walls, or hitting the foothills to the mountains. So yesterday it was around this business that I've been working on for a while, and one of the stories in my life has been people being here because they, not because they actually want to be here with me, but because they feel like they're obligated to be here with me. And it feels like in my body, it's just this, and really wanting to create space of like, I've noticed that I've been pushing more of, don't be in my space if you don't want to be here. Like, just go away, go do your thing. So there's this sadness there. There's this, I genuinely want people to be here who genuinely want to be here. But there's this sadness for, the people who I thought wanted to be here who don't actually want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. I get that you got to create space in order for those people to leave and more people to come in to take that place. But it's the heaviness of the abandonment of the. Maybe I'll just stay there because that's where I feel it the most in my chest. So there's
The heaviness.
Yeah, the heaviness. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to reflect back to you what I've heard you say so far, and then I would like to hear a little bit from you what it is that you would desire to experience by the end of this conversation with me. as kind of a goal. What is it that your being is hoping for? So you can be thinking about that, reflecting to you. Okay. So I'm hearing that you're in recognition, especially this year in your growth process, that you tend to find yourself in one of the areas of that trauma triangle. And in so doing, you're really recognizing that you have this, I'm imagining some confusion and lack of clarity sometimes around the extent to which your story is true or not. Do you believe it or not? How do you know whether these people are really in your life for the reasons that you would want them to be in your life? And so feeling that weight that you're feeling in your chest of not really feeling like you can sink into a relaxed space of connection with people. How is that landing in you?
Yes. Well, I have tears in my eyes, so I think we're onto something. I hear it here, and I feel it right here and in my heart area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you be open to, as in this process, would you be open to going into some, connecting a little bit more deeply with that physical sensation and hearing what it has to say to you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there anything that would help you feel more comfortable? What was that?
I noticed some resistance to it because I was like, I don't like snot pouring out of my nose. So I'm just like feeling that part. But yes, I love this amount of being seen. So yes.
And that's important too. That's important too. We can address that first, so that you have a value for your appearance and for. Can you speak to those values? What are those resistances really wanting? What are their values?
Well, I'd like to sing in a little while today, and I know that when I start crying, then my nose gets all blocked up and my throat gets all blocked up. And so I'm like, yeah! But I feel like this is a higher level of importance for me than the song at this moment, and maybe this is the song. So I'm ready. Let's go.
So there's a values conflict. Okay, so do you feel I am so celebrating your enthusiasm and wanting to go in deep, and I'm in a space of running to hold space for all the parts of you that are speaking in your lives, so you can be that much more fully in it. So if there's anything you feel like you need to say to that part of you to reassure it, you'll drink some hot tea afterward, you'll whatever, so that it can feel fully on board. I invite you to do that.
Okay, I just gave like 1,000 kisses to myself, and thank you for acknowledging all of those parts. That was really beautiful to be seen in the spectrum. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's start with what is it that you would like to feel? Is it relief of that weight, clarity?
I would like to feel like I'm building a community and living within a community of people that truly are here because they want to be here, not out of need or not out of out of like genuine self-sourcing, genuine, I'm here, let's do this. And so that's my like thirst.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do that by dropping into that weight and hearing what you're like, if you're receptive. So I see you're closing your eyes already. If you would like to, just lay a gentle, loving hand on the part of you that is feeling weighty, just to let it know that you're there. And I'm doing that with you energetically as we're in this space.
I've got my hand over my solar plexus.
Okay. Okay. I would like you to really open to fully feeling the physical sensation that's in your body. Just fully feel it. And as you're feeling it, allow it to gently expand and take up even more space so you can more clearly see it. And just breathe into that. And
It's like I want to vomit.
And I invite you to ask it what it would like to speak to you. Ask it what it is that it's feeling and what it is that it's needing, what it is wanting you to know.
It's feeling a huge sense of repulsion for all of those repulsion and isolation against like people that don't feel safe here or feel like I'm too much. So that's a good one. Too much, too much, too much, too much.
Too much.
So there's like this resistance, there's this hard wall around the I'm done with too much. I'm done with people, with anyone that thinks that that's not the thing or that they don't feel safe there, that there's just this, okay, go find what you need to do because it's not here anymore.
Yeah.
So like there's this fury around releasing that.
A resistance to what feels like disconnection.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Yes.
And wanting that to not be there anymore.
Yes.
Well, I would like you to breathe into that discomfort and breathe into the wisdom that it's offered you again, and just extend that part of you gratitude for speaking to you. It's so wonderful that you're creating a safe space within yourself for these parts to express, Mimi. And I also invite you at this point to ask it what it needs to feel that safety, what it is it needs in order to feel reassurance and connection.
Truth, integrity, honesty, as often as possible with some laughter and kindness, but dignity. Passion, that's a good one.
Wow. Laughter, integrity, passion. That's the desires of this part of you.
Yes.
To feel connected in those ways.
Yes, and like fully on board or not on board, and just like, good, that's good. Just be, I want you, whoever it is, just you be you, 100%, and quit doing me favors. Just be here because you want to be here, or don't be here because you don't want to be here. That's my like, yeah.
Yeah. How will that part of you know if that's what's really happening?
I can feel it from people. And
where do you describe that?
I feel like there's a presence for when people feel confident showing up. So confidence in myself. Yeah, a divine, like a really healthy boundaries presence. Yeah.
So confidence, you'll feel a confidence in yourself and a confidence in the connection
Yes.
and a clarity about boundaries.
Yes. That is
Wonderful.
absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. Whew. So,
I adore
just,
you, Hannah. You just received all of that. I adore you. You just received all of that.
oh, I adore you too, Mimi. I'm so glad that we were paired together. I think you're precious and wonderful. And I love that it started out where you're loud and I'm quiet, and both of us have things around that, and this is just precious. I so value this connection time with you. Thank you for receiving that from me and
Yeah.
giving opportunity.
Yes. That was a gorgeous reflection. Thank you. I really felt seen, and I really felt heard, and I really felt like that whole part of me of presence was just really like shimmering with your sunlight behind you. I felt like that just really showed up in full vibrancy with you. So that really touched my heart and really helped me to pull it up from my where I felt like I wasn't able to get my voice around that into my chest with some really, oh, yeah, that's totally what I am. So thank you. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you for giving me that feedback. Yeah.
Mm.
So how are you feeling? You mentioned at the beginning of the call you were hoping to feel some relief of that weight and confidence connection.
Yes.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, the connection fuzzed out.
It went from like there, from like not feeling grounded to the back of my shoulders to like this, like, yes. So, yes, I definitely feel like it shifted in my body from a place of not having that connection to like being able to put my shoulders back and relax my nervous system. And oh, yeah, that's totally it. So, yes.
Beautiful. Yay, Mimi. Oh, good work. You did such wonderful, awesome work. Thank you. Big twinkle for you. You're so awesome.
Beautiful. Good job, both of you. Just really want to just reflect what a wonderful job Hannah did of just really feeling and just really being with. You know, Hannah really demonstrated being with Mimi, being with her. It was really beautiful. Mimi, I know you felt connected. It was pretty clear, but is there a particular moment or moments when you felt most connected?
Yes, and when Hannah would slow down, especially breath connection, like hearing her breathe, and then moments where Hannah was doing the reflection back a few words, and so it helped to like all of the extras kind of went to the wayside, and then those few words really dropped back in, and then I started to breathe there. So I recognize that like I have a lot of rapid, and then so I really appreciate that a couple of key pieces out of that drop into and then reflect back. And I really felt seen and heard. So my body kind of transformed the more that you use those words.
Beautiful, beautiful. I want to thank everybody for holding sacred space and sacred witnessing of both of you. And actually, Patsy, since I kind of had you guys go into the breakout room, I just wanted to kind of come back to you for a minute and ask how you're feeling, and anything you'd like to share about your process, your experience.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
It felt really great to witness, like you say, that sacred witnessing, for Mandy to hear it. I could see her listen to it. She took a moment to assimilate it for herself. She could identify with it and suggested some tools. I think just bringing it out like a cat does a hairball kind of helped. Just let some light in there I know it's not all mine.
Mhm.
So I can really just let it go. I feel like some of it is just the act of letting it go that's
Yeah.
calling for what's up right now.
Beautiful. And, of course, for all the people that got coaching today, Daniel, Mimi, and Patsy, a normal coaching session is 60 minutes to 2 hours. And so, in these little 15, 20-minute, like they're more like a homeopathic dose, right? And so if any of you are, you might find more stuff's going to come up, or, we kind of opened Pandora's box and there might still be things flowing out. And so this is where in community, if any of you are really wanting additional support, please put in the chat box. And I really want to encourage, those of you who are still with us, maybe to offer, continuing to work with Patsy or Mimi or Daniel, if anything is up for you, you guys are wanting some more time, some more support. Okay.
Thank you.
And it's understandable. I also wanted to briefly address what I heard as one of Mimi's wounds, and it's the "am I too much" wound. And I really want to acknowledge that one. Both of my previous two relationships, both Emily, who you know, and then Karina, both have the "am I too much" wound. And so I know that one, and a lot of my relationship with both of them was helping to heal that, or helping them to, and it's a tricky one because there are times that all of us may engage in a behavior or an energy that's uncomfortable for someone else. And that's where we really need to differentiate between our behavior and who we are as a being. So as a being, Mimi, you could never be too much. But there are times we need to ask you to turn the volume down. All right? It's like a perfect example. It's like, we love you, we just need to turn the volume down. But who you are is awesome, right? And so that's the thing to remember, is when are you in the fear that who you are as a human being, who you are as a soul, that there's never anything wrong with you or anybody. There are consequences to our choices. There's times we need, our volume is too loud for somebody. And it doesn't even mean that it's necessarily been too loud, it's just too loud for that particular person listening, right? So it's like training the people in our world how to set boundaries with compassion, how to set the boundary that they don't have to be with us all the time or the way we want them to be with us, and for neither person to take it personally. It's just a preference in the moment, right? And anybody who's attracted to you, certainly enough to be a long-term partner, they love who you are. But listen, I love a good alcoholic drink. I love my sake with sushi. My sake with my sushi. So I just say my wife sushi. Sake with my sushi, but I don't want to drink too much sake, right? So it's like we might love something, but we can only take it in a certain amount, a certain dosage, right? Especially when it's incredible. Like, sake is pretty incredible, but got to keep it to a certain dose, right? So is that helpful, Mimi? Just in that, dealing with that particular issue? Good. All right.
Just to finish that up, I think that what I'm recognizing is that I had a lot of people around me who were asking for me to stay at half volume. And as a performer, I feel like I want to surround myself with people who want more of my full volume on a regular basis, even if it's just in small doses.
Yeah.
So,
I'm reminded of, there's a great Marilyn Monroe quote. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's, if you can't manage being with me when I'm at my worst, you sure as hell are not going to get the best of me, right? And it's a really it's a brilliant thing. It's like that's the trade-off. If you want the best of me, you got to also have acceptance for the worst of me, and that's true long-term friendship or long-term partnership. That's where radical acceptance comes in. And I guess that's probably a good note to close on, is just radical acceptance of ourself. Radical acceptance of ourself. And what each of you experienced, Hannah demonstrated it so beautifully, was just she was in such total acceptance of your miminess, right? It's like, let me swim in the lake of Mimi with you for a little while here, it was a beautiful demonstration. Anna Prabha also with Daniel, beautiful, beautiful work. So, all right, well, Happy New Year, everybody. For those of you who missed our New Year's Day visioning, go back and watch the recording and work with it, or at least answer the questions and send me your answers. What are you grateful for that took place in 2019? What are you letting go of? Thoughts, habits, patterns, belief systems? And what's your vision for what's going to take place in your life? I'd love to hear that. And you can share it with me privately or share it publicly in the group, either on the Facebook page or in the group thread. So with that, thank you. Good work, everybody. Love each and every one of you. Daniel, I'm gazing. I'm going to add flowers to it today. I'll go buy flowers. It's beautiful. It's right here on my desk. And much love. Take care, everybody. See you soon.